Fantasy Flight Games just dropped an article about hunting gene traders, and this goes over the first scenario of the new Age of Apocalypse box, as well as side missions, which we haven't really heard too much about yet, and it kind of goes into it in pretty decent detail. So let's go check out the announcement page. All right, so here we are on the page, and this is called Hunting Gene Traders, and the apocalypse is nigh. As we approach the onset of Marvel Champions, the card game's latest expansion, we want to provide a deeper look at each of the scenarios in the Age of Apocalypse campaign. Today we're showing, and it's also interesting that they phrase it that way as the campaign. Like they're for a game that didn't put much focus on campaign play very early on. They're doing a lot with Age of Apocalypse, which is kind of cool to see. So today we're showcasing the first of those scenarios as well as new side missions mechanic unique to this campaign. So without further ado, let's take a look at Unus. Unus? I'm going to call him Unus. As we said in the other announcement, Unus is an unflinchingly loyal servant of Apocalypse who assaults the heroes with his massive army of infinites. The faceless foes include infinite hunters from Unus's personal encounter set and the infinite soldiers from the infinite encounter set. So looking at him, I think we've seen this card before because we were talking about the gene pool and what exactly that is. And if there's 3 in there, it's Retaliate 1, 6, he also gains Stalwart, 9, he also gains the extra boost icon, 12 life, which is pretty low, but that's fine. So Infinite Hunter is a 2/2/4 stat line. When revealed, deal 3 damage to an ally you control, which seems kind of weird. Let me phrase it. It's not weird. It's actually kind of cool. But with side missions, it makes a lot more sense why it's doing that, but that's a whole nother thing. And then Infinite Soldier, instead of Infinite Hunter, is a 1/2/3, has a guard. If there's at least this many threat on the gene pool, 3, the minion gains Quick Strike, 6, it gains Surge, and 9, it also gains 3 extra life. So they're all interacting, right? I'm not going to read through all of this. You can read the release, but they're all interacting with gene pool here, right? It's a permanent setup card. It starts off with 4 threat on it. After an ally is defeated by anything other than consequential damage, place a 3 threat here, right? So this is kind of interesting that, you can't use chump blocking because if you do, you're going to be placing more threat here. More threat here interacts, as we've seen with this Infinite Soldier, because this is going off of the gene pool, and also with Unus, who once he gets to 9 is pretty beefy. So it starts off at 4. You want to get this down as much as possible, but it's not going to go away because it is a permanent card, so you can't just thwart it out of existence. So after an ally is defeated by anything other than consequence. So again, you could take your own allies out, which is fine. But using them as chump blockers, we've talked about this a lot, that it seems like they really want you to get away from chump blocking. This is another card in which to do that. So they start talking about Unus and all that fun stuff, and naturally wants to put as much threat in there as possible. So his main scheme, which is an interesting scheme, it's 11 threshold, which is wild, and 0 start. So his after resolving step 1 in the villain phase, place 1 threat on gene pool. Again, it's going to keep making gene pool go up a little bit, but it's only putting 1 on here, which is like kind of low. This is a lot of main scheme to play with, right? 11 is a huge number. Now maybe there's other cards that interact with a lot more, but that's a lot. So I'm assuming it's because they don't want you to focus on the main scheme as much as gene pool. So look at that. So they talk about there's different things that add more threat onto everything. So this one adds a +1 attack attached to Unus. After Unus attacks and defeats an ally, place 1 threat in the gene pool, right? And this is working off your ally who would chump block normally, right? So when he chump blocks, he would place threat onto the gene pool thing. This is doing it as well. Endless ranks, when defeated, you place 3 threat in the gene pool, right? So this card is again kind of going off of that. Infinite Prelate. I'm going to say prelate. Unus activates against you if the amount of threat on gene pool is at least, and then 3, give him a tough status, 6, heal 3 from him as well, and then give him an additional boost card, right? So they're really leaning into this gene pool and kind of managing this other threat that's going on off to the side. It's kind of cool what they're doing with this. I like it a fair amount. It kind of changes, I wouldn't say the dynamic of the game, but it's just kind of like shifting everything a little bit. So like, you're not worrying about the main scheme as much. Obviously, it's there. It's in the background. You still have to focus on it. But the side scheme and what they're doing is kind of cool because, again, if you want to keep it around 3 and whatever, you can do that. But if you want to give up on 3 and want to go up to 6, you can do that too, right? There's a ton of things that can happen there. So there's a lot of infinite soldiers, right? So with this, so many infinite soldiers, and the gene pool piling up, heroes can be easily overwhelmed. Of course, the infinites won't simply sit idle during all of this, but infinites strengthen them with genetic experiments. So attached to an infinite minion, otherwise the card gains Surge. The minion gets +2 health. When the attached minion is defeated, you place 2 threat in the gene pool. It gives a +1/+1 stat line. Yeah, okay. And then their unending mission of culling the weak. Again, when revealed, you just place 4 threat in the gene pool. If it's a boost card, it just puts 2 threat in the gene pool, right? So it's really kind of leaning into that. So it seems like not, I don't know if it'll be a hard first mission. The reason being is you'll have to deal with the minions, obviously. But Unus himself, as a stage 1, only has 12 life. That's a pretty easy stage 1 to get through. Now, again, stage 2 could be 18 or 20, right? And stage 3 could be like 24, something crazy. So we'll know what that all looks like. We'll know what the other stats will switch to. I assume these numbers or things he does will be different. So they're really kind of changing the way that I think what it seems like main scheme is not as much of a priority as gene pool is, right? You kind of have to do the main scheme, but it's not as much of a priority. And again, once again, they're working on getting rid of chump blocking. This is one of the things that I'm pretty sure they've talked about in the past, but we've just noticed through game design that they want to limit you from chump blocking with your allies. So it's a pretty cool way of doing it. I'm a fan. So next up we have mission start, and as they briefly covered in the first one, there's new things called side missions. This new mechanic just for this campaign. So we already know how this campaign is going to work. It's every single campaign so far has been pretty different in the way that they've done things. This way seems pretty cool. But basically there's a main area and then there's a side mission area. And I don't know, can we open that up and see it better? No, it's like so blurry. But yeah, so it comes with all these different side missions. So the separate play area from both the player area and the villain area, and it comes with its own set of rules. So when you select a random mission from the side scheme, there's 4 options. The 5th one is specifically reserved for the last scenario. We don't know what the last scenario is yet, unless it's Dark Beast, which I find shocking. But the last one relates to that one, which is cool. You'll be able to choose a random overseer minion, such as Mr. Sinister, who's a null 5 life, victory 5, cannot take damage while another minion is at the mission. Players cannot assign cards with the same resource icon to more than one enemy for each mission attempt. That will make sense in 1 second. Then Shadow King is another option. Again, kind of the same stat line, but after you discard cards, place 2 threat in the mission side scheme for each mental resource discarded. And Sugar Man, again, kind of the same as that thing they got going on. After you discard cards, heal 3 from Sugar Man for each physical resource. Now, none of that may make sense to you yet, and it's kind of interesting in the way that they're doing this. So, unlike most other side schemes, your heroes cannot touch mission side schemes. Right, so this whole mission side scheme play area, and we'll see what a side scheme looks like in a second, that whole thing cannot be touched by your heroes. You're actually going to send your allies to go do it, which is interesting. They're really leaning into like allies doing things. So for example, this is the support card. Mission team cannot be discarded and the first player gains control of it. You can either exhaust mission team to reduce the cost of the next ally play this mission by 2, which is cool, or you can make a mission attempt, right? So, you can have any number of allies in the mission area at any given time. As a reminder, allies in the mission area don't count towards your ally limits. You can attach upgrades to allies in the mission area as normal, but keep in mind that these allies will have their printed text boxes blanked out except for traits as long as they're in a mission area. So this is what the whole mission progress area is going to look like. When I first saw this, I had no idea what was going on. But basically, once you've built up a solid fighting force, you can use mission team to make a mission attempt, right? So mission team was that first card we saw here, where at first it's reducing allies to put in the mission area. Now, when you actually want to make the attempt, right? So when you do, you discard a card from the top of your deck for each ally in the mission, including the allies played there by other players. Most Overseer minions have a mission response that is triggered at this point. For example, Sugarman heals 3 for each physical resource discarded during this attempt. After discarding cards, you next assign each of the discarded cards to a different ally at the mission. If any resource icon on the ally matches any resource icon on the card assigned to it, that ally participates in the mission. Right, so we got, it's kind of hard to see, but physical, wild, mental, and energy mental. Not mental, wild. Energy wild. So wild resources can count as any type, which means a wild on an ally can match with any resource on the ally's printed card, vice versa. Once you determine which allies will be participating in the mission attempt, you return each of the discarded cards back to your discard pile. Next, you deal damage to enemies at the mission equal to the combined total attack of all participating allies, divided as you choose. You deal damage to enemies one at a time, which is important since you can't damage the Overseer minion until all other minions at the mission have been defeated. We don't really know how they're going to get there and whatnot, but Just an important note. So for example, this above diagram, they have a total attack of 6, right? 2, 5, 6, or 1, 4, 5, 6. So they would distribute among enemies however they want. So for example, if an Agent of Apocalypse was in there, right? And this is a guard, or it might go in a mission area, right? 2, 2, 3 stat line guard. Choose to either add Agent of Apocalypse to the mission area, or it activates against you. So they would have to assign 3 damage to it first before they can deal any damage to Sugarman. Okay. Once all damage has been dealt, you will then remove threat from the mission's side scheme equal to the combined total thwart of all the participant allies. In the example above, they have 4 threat removal, right? 2, 1, 1. So that's 4 total. So 4th threat would be removed from evacuate survivors. So this is one of the side scheme missions. It comes from a 5 threat. After you resolve the mission attempt, place 1 attempt counter here, deal 1 damage to each ally on the mission. If there are 4 more attempt counters here, remove mission team from the game and flip this card over. Excuse me, when defeated, shuffle each player card at the mission into the owner's deck, flip this card over. So, keep in mind that even if you remove the last threat from the scheme, you'll have to defeat the Overseer minion before you can complete the mission. So make sure you send allies with good mix of attack and thwart. This is especially important because you want to get 4 attempts to defeat the mission in each game. Because you only get 4. If you haven't succeeded on the 4th turn, you take a mission-specific penalty and lose all player cards in the mission area for the rest of the game, which is kind of bad. Defeating mission side schemes can be challenging, but the rewards are worth it. So we have cards like Evacuate Survivors. After you flip to this side, remove each card in the mission area from the game and do the following. If the mission was not defeated, deal each player a face down encounter card, which is terrible. But if it was, each player searches their deck and discard pile for 1 card and adds it to their hand. Okay. Like that's fine. I don't think that's amazing, but that's fine. Mission lets you get blah, blah, blah. While find lost mutants, right? So again, if you did not do this, you discard 1 card from your hand. If it was defeated, each player adds 1 set aside campaign ally to their hand, which isn't terrible. We have, that's something else. So, while Final Lost Mutant Scheme lets you gain, okay, so here we go. Destiny, Blink, Morph, or X-Man. So these are the campaign allies, a 4-3-1-3 stat line after she enters play, or after Destiny enters play. Remove 2 threat from the scheme. Blink, which is cool to see, 4-2-2-3 stat line. After Blink enters your hand, deal 2 damage to the villain, which is really interesting. After Morph enters your hand, confuse the villain, which is cool to see. And X-Man, which 4-1-3-3 stat line. After X-Man enters your hand, give it identity a tough stat. It's kind of cool that they're doing it based off of your hand and not onto the gaming table, but yeah, that's cool. Complete missions will grant rewards for the rest of the campaign as well, representing how well your ally efforts are gradually tipping the scales in your favor to fight against Apocalypse. All right, so this is just a quick rundown of what they have going on. I think Unus seems like a fine first villain. I mean, they're not supposed to be overly hard or anything like that, so I think as an initial villain, right, he's good. I think he'll be fine. I think it's cool they're doing something different. Again, they're trying to limit chump blocking. I wonder if that's the route this box is going to go. It seems like every single box they focus on something different, and it feels like that's what they're going to do this one. The side mission thing, yeah, okay. Like I'm not completely on board yet because I have to see how it actually would progress and work, but I'm not against it. I think it's an interesting idea to have a whole nother like side mini thing going on. I think it would be a little weird that like there's certain cards they said like Agent of Apocalypse, right? If you were just playing with that deck or that mod set normally, you can't choose to add it to the mission area if you're not playing missions like in a regular game, so it's just going to activate against you. Like, I don't know, maybe that's not bad. Maybe that's fine. Who knows? But yeah, so it's also its boost icon is deal 1 damage to an ally at the mission, which like if it's not there, then I guess that doesn't happen. I don't know. That's kind of weird. But it's fine, right? I'm happy with the side mission thing. I think it'll be interesting. I think again, I'm happy they're doing something different each time. They're not kind of just relying back on old things they've done or successful things they've done. I'm hoping too with this, one of the things I didn't like about some of the previous campaign stuff was I think they were all decent. There's a lot of bookkeeping that was happening in some of the more recent campaigns. Like there was just a lot of things to keep track of and different setup things. But I'm hoping this is a little more straightforward and simple. Like maybe there's stuff happening in the actual gameplay, but actually going through and bookkeeping it all, right? Keeping track in between missions. Hopefully maybe it's much quicker and much faster. That would be kind of neat. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. What you think about this this release, what you think about these side missions, what do you think about the first villain, all that fun stuff. And do me a huge favor. If you haven't done it yet, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe. All that stuff really helps the channel. And to all my subscribers who have subscribed, turn on notifications, and watch all my videos, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for your support. I'll see you all next time.